Welcome back to the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast on a beautiful, sunny, summer, dare I say, day here in New York. My name is Rami Lavi, and it's beautiful outside, and I can't wait. It's exciting. Vince is not here today, and I am kind of, it's funny that he's not here of all days because we'll get to it in the prospect report. Usually, if Vince wasn't here, I probably wouldn't even have a prospect report because I'm not the big prospect guy, if you know the show. But I got a good one today. I got a great. So you want to stay tuned for that. We got a whole lot going on, though. Obviously, big week, big fantasy baseball week. Baseball's in full swing. We had a lot of day baseball today on this Wednesday, and you're probably listening to this thinking, no, it's Thursday already. Yeah, by now you're listening to it's Thursday. But I watched some day baseball today, and I'm getting ready for another Knicks playoff game. Basketball, you know I love my hoops. So lots of stuff to get to. And I got to kick it right off right now as we start with the biggest headline, with some headlines. The biggest headline to me, and it's not fantasy related, but it could be because one of the guys who's been heating up lately might have a monkey off his shoulder, might have some little stress coming off his back, if you will. And that is, of course, Shohei Ohtani, who Ipe Mitsuhara, his interpreter, just plead guilty to all the to the fraud, I guess. I don't know if all the allegations against him, but maybe that is why, and we'll get to our hot and not and a little foreshadowing here. Shohei Ohtani has been tearing the cover off the ball lately. And think about what Ohtani's been going through. He's been rehabbing from an injured elbow. He's been hitting the cover off the ball on a new team, adjusting to that. Obviously, it's not a big adjustment. The team's great. But he's also been dealing with this stuff in his personal life with a good friend of his, whether he's guilty or not. Who knows what's going on with Ipe Mitsuhara? Well, now it seems like you could put that to bed, where there'll be a trial, there'll be everything. But it seems like it's officially not Shohei Ohtani who was involved or doing any of this. It's officially Ipe Mitsuhara, who's either an incredible friend and is just the greatest fall guy ever, or actually did this. And it seems more likely that it's the latter, unfortunately. And it's just an unfortunate situation. It goes from like a crazy, whoa, sports story to just almost like a sad story where who knows what was going on in this guy's life and in this guy's personal life that he felt he had to betray a friend of his like this. I'm sure we all go through things in our lives that are struggles sometimes and aren't easy, but to think like what it would have to get to in your life, if you could think about that, for you to get to the point where you take a guy who's your closest friend, who's with you every single day, and you betray him to that point, I mean, that's got to be, pretty tough. And so I feel for him more than anything else, in a weird way. I feel for Ipe Mitsuhara, but for Shohei Ohtani, I'm happy it seems like it's all behind him. Now, the other big story when it comes to pitchers is Shota Imanaga apparently is human because he gave up 2 runs. And there was a tweet, and I forget who it was. It might have even been Nightingale, but if you look at it, I'm going to find it right now at Baseball Images that precede. There was a tweet, and I'll just tell you what it was. That was basically like, this guy hasn't given up a run in this amount. And of course, it was Nightingale. It's always freaking Bob Nightingale. Shota Imanaga may be the Chicago Cubs' greatest free agent signing since Andre Dawson in 1987. If he keeps pitching like this, Imanaga 5-0, throws 7 more shutout innings, and now has a .65 ERA in his first 7 MLB starts. Well, guess what? He gave up a 2-run homer, I think. I think that's what it was. And his ERA has ballooned now over 1. And when you're talking about a guy who was at 0.65, it ballooned over 1. And let me see. The Cubs still won the game. And let me find Imanaga's line. He ultimately does not get the win, but yeah, 7 innings, 2 runs, the 2 earned. So just kind of funny. Bellinger came back with the home run also. So I know Vince is looking out for his Cubbies. Yes, it was in the 8th inning. Jurickson Profar gets the 2-run home run. A guy who's also been hot that we talked about on the podcast, Jurickson Profar. But who would it have been but Bob Nightingale to write, who's wrong about everything always, to write Shota Imanaga, 7 more shutout innings. And then, of course, he came out for the 8th inning, and he gave up a 2-run home run and didn't get an out of the 8th. Hopefully that doesn't totally throw off his career. I still think he's a really good pitcher, but it's just funny how that works out sometimes. Now, another story, and I saw this recently, and so I just wanted to bring it to the attention of the podcast. It is fantasy related, although it's not directly correlated to fantasy baseball, but one of the best closers in baseball. And if you're not aware of who this guy is, you should be buying stock in this guy. He's definitely not available in leagues. He's in almost all leagues. And, I like to call there's the Hardo leagues, and then there's the more ESPN and Yahoo leagues. He might be available if you don't know who this guy is. but he's probably not available in your league. If he is somehow available, go get him. That's Robert Suarez, who's the closer for the San Diego Padres. He's awesome. He's got 11 saves on the year. He's 14 strikeouts in 15 innings and a .59 ERA and a .72 whip. The guy's ridiculous. But better than that, since his first couple starts of the year, or opportunities of the year, outings of the year, he has only thrown fastballs. And I saw this story somewhere where he's going to try and ride it out. He's basically Jacob deGrom at times. Jacob deGrom does this for a couple innings at a time. Sometimes the first time through the order, he'll only throw fastballs just to see what he can get away with because he was that good and he's that dominant. It's funny with this guy, Robert Suarez, he's a closer, so he doesn't need to throw multiple innings, doesn't need to face the lineup multiple times. So he comes in and just, all right, good morning, good afternoon, good night, throws fastball. Sometimes a cutter, sometimes it's a two-seamer, sometimes a four-seamer, maybe a little sinking action, but it's all fastballs, and it's an incredible story. So I wanted to point that out. Now, we do have an injury. You see headlines and injuries are the title of this segment. So the injury update, and this is an unfortunate one. If you saw this yesterday, this was crazy. But my guy, Willson Contreras, who's on my fantasy team, and he's one of the guys I talked up before the year. I saw, the second half was incredible. He broke his arm on a play that was a catcher's interference. You see how close he is. You see how far back JD Martinez is standing, trying to just wait on that fastball as long as he can, right? And he swings down, and the bat hits the arm, the outstretched arm of Willson Contreras. Just an awful sight to see. Not a fun thing, not a good look. Unfortunate moment there, and he broke his arm. Like, it actually broke his arm. So he'll probably be reevaluated maybe in a couple of months, maybe a month at least. So just a sad situation, obviously, for the Cardinals and for fantasy owners who owned Willson Contreras like myself. Now we need to find a catcher to replace him. So a little bit of an unfortunate injury there, and it's not going to be a short-term injury. It doesn't seem like either.